Hello, everyone. This is Dazzling. I create visual novels as Draw Flash games. I created this video to help you understand an easy way to structure the smart content part of DAZ Studio. Why would you want to? Well, maybe you're happy with how DAZ Studio works out of the box, but if you're a more experienced user, you will most likely have run into issues quickly finding your useful or required content for a scene. If you haven't run into any issues yet, then most likely you're either a starting user or you have a very, very small content library, not like maybe, I don't know, uh, more than 1,000 items. If you are a starting user, it's very smart to actually start structuring already, even if you have a very low amount of assets in your environment, especially because later on it will become well, more complex to find your stuff, and then also only then start to think about structuring will not really help. For the experienced user, maybe you already created a structure, um, and this can often be based on the items you have in your file system or on the content library. I've seen many videos explaining like, oh, you can create a category list in the content library. That's absolutely true. We're going to use that. But for many new users, but also experienced users, there's a lot of gain um, using the Smart Content tab, especially when you want to filter on specific items connected to your scene, or actually just being able to see the subgroups within groups, which you can't do in a content library. I'll quickly explain to you what I mean with that. You have the products. If I click on the product, I will see all the products under here. But as you can see, it doesn't show any subfolders. If I click here on the left side on one, I will not see what's in these subgroups. The same thing if I go to the DAZ Studio formats, it's the same thing. I will have to click all the way down to a folder level where there's actually DOF files or um, DSF files or anything. While in categories, it does the same thing, but it will show you um, the sub items that are underneath. The fun part is you can get this in the actual content, the smart content environment, and then in products or in files. Um, this setup, which you see right here, is basically the default setup of DAZ Studio. It's also uh, understandable it's default because if you go to categories default, you see all the same items. You can actually change items here by going to categorize and then move an item or actually even put them in multiple categories. That's also a handy thing if you say like, this is an attachment for the hand, but it's also a wardrobe item. You can put it both the um, in the accessories and in the wardrobes. But now the problem is that it might be for a specific Genesis figure, um, and you might want to have that selected. This is why I create my own categories, and I do that by just creating a new subgroup on the top level. And I will quickly move the dialog. For instance, I'm going to do my custom uh, categories. And now you see that it actually has a custom categories here. It has a specific folder which looks different. The icon looks different because it contains a U, which means, of course, user category. But you can change that if you want by exporting the structure later on and then importing it again. And then DAZ will see it as a legitimate DAZ category structure. Now, within the custom categories, I would want to In my case, for this example, I want to create Genesis 1, which would be basically the Victoria 4, Michael 4, and the Genesis figures, and maybe create a subdirectory for the Genesis 2, and of course Genesis 3. I could duplicate, but that's another functionality which can be very handy, um, which I can explain in another video if that's something people are interested in. Genesis 8, and of course, we also want Genesis 9 figures. So create Genesis 9. These categories are meant to be just your structure. So I create this structure. You can create your own in any way you want. I could actually say, okay, under Genesis 1, I want to create a clothes or clothing to make it a nicer talk. Now, in this case, I'm going to show you what the options are for the create a duplicate category. If I do just one level, I would say, okay, select category only, and I say, okay, I want this under the category 2. Now, here is also a clothing. If I create a substructure under here, like D-force, and maybe we create a non-D-force, non-D-force. But now I have a structure under here. If I would still copy only this one, and I want to do it to 3, now it still has only the structure of 3. Now the fun part is 1, 2, and 3 have very few D-force items. So in this case, I want to duplicate this one with the subcategories, and I want to move it to, this is 8, and now I have the full structure there. This can be as large a structure as you want. I could even just duplicate this whole structure into a new setup. What I previously done is I created a template containing Genesis 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 8, and 9 with feminine, masculine, or male, female, um, and I put that in a separate category folder, which I could then entirely use as a template for a new one. How would I do that? I just create a subcategory templates. I create a subcategory temp1, and now I'll just move these into, oh, sorry, you see this one is there. I'll just move this one in there, and I'll move, that's annoying. Now it's moving it in a different level. Here now it's actually in the right place. I'll move this one there, and I'll move this one there. This is annoying. Just move. Let's quickly do it step by step then. Just move it in here. Like that. Okay, now I have a temporary structure. I just say, okay, duplicate this one, and I'll do all the sub, and I move it here. Now there's actually a temp here, and I can say this is for actors. And that will be handy. Might be a useful structure here actually. I still need to duplicate these to the Genesis 9. Just make sure that that's not in here, so I should also do this and put that in Genesis 9 in the template. Make sure you select the right place because sometimes it's remembering where you are, and you might move an actor to clothing or the other way around, which is not very helpful in the end. Now I have an actors, and I could also perhaps make a scenes template where I want all the items like props, landscapes, indoor setups, outdoor setups, anything that is like trees or flowers, and I can put everything into a scene setup because it's not part of a character, it's not part of clothing, but you could still make a separate structure. Now, if you go into the files environment, you could actually add a file to one of the categories you just created. It's very handy. That means that that separate one item will be in that category. Um, what does it mean? I will just add this one for a moment to clothing, and it seems like it's actually female clothing. I didn't add female or male clothing selection under here, but you could do that. It's a non-deforce, so now I accept, and it's actually added. And now you can see that it immediately reloads the structure. And if I go to Genesis 1, it will not show empty um, categories. So if there's a category that is empty, then it will not show yet. Now you see clothing. Oh, it's actually now a little bit upset. I'll disable the filter by content because I haven't selected anything in the scene, but it might still be a little bit confused. And now you see that there's actually all the way to the bottom, there's only one item. If I go to custom items, you will see that it's busy and it will show everything underneath, something you cannot do in the actual branches of here. You will not see anything underneath any of the subdirectories. So you'll have to go all the way to the level you want to. So that's great. You can just do one item, but this will not really help you if you go here and we go here. We see that there's a custom item, but if I open this, there will be only one item in that product, which it isn't because we know that it's part of a whole product set. So if I adjust this one, I'll just remove the category from this one again. All right, so here clothing non-deforce, I'll remove it and I'll go back. I cannot add the full product as it is. If I go here and I'll just wait for a second until everything loads. As you already saw, I have quite a large number of assets. And it even seems like my system's slowing down because of the recording. If I click this one, for instance, I cannot add it to a category. All right, so I can open it and then go to any part of it and say add this to a category. All right, I can say categorize, but as already mentioned, even if I select everything, I cannot select. I could do this, select all the items underneath, but they will end up in the category all by themselves. So not as a product contained with itself. How can I go about doing that still? All right, so we go back to the overview. We right click and say show product in content library. Now the fun part, what cannot be done in smart content, you can do in the um, content library. So if I now say create a category from, so it will create a folder category from this into my own category. I can go here and say, okay, I want custom categories, and it's an 8 female. So I go to 8 clothing and I'll just add it. It takes a little bit longer because it will modify all the sub items and the folder itself. And now if I go here, I will see that it's actually here. I have everything. As you see, as soon as I click a level higher, it won't show anything. But the great thing now is because it's here and we do a refresh, we actually do have the full set here. Why it shows this, I don't know. But at least if I open this, I will have the whole product under the structure, which makes it easier to use. And hopefully it helps you. You can do this with as many things at the same time. You can also add items to different categories at the same time. The only thing is you cannot do that from the way I just showed you. You will have to um, go into the content library and then say, okay, I want this specific item to also be in a different place. So if I say create a category from this into, maybe it also works in 9, so I would want to have it including 9. I can do this, and you will see that it's still here. And remember, it creates a category structure. It does not duplicate the actual product. So if I go here now, you will see that it's also here, and it's in both places. If I go back to smart content and go to the actual, let's uh, let's quickly refresh here. All right. Now you see that it shows in 8. It's a little bit busy, but it's exactly the same in the sub. But now you see actually items you can use within this grouping or in this grouping, which I find a more useful setup for the smart content. Hopefully this also helps you. And well, as it's by default nowadays on YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe, or, share this video if you think other people can also benefit from it. And let me know if you have any other um, things from DAZ which you want to have explained.